The weather in northeastern British Columbia is playing a crucial role in holding back the wildfire that threatens Fort Nelson.
Reduced winds have resulted in favorable firefighting conditions, a reduction in fire behavior, and minimal fire growth towards the community. Although these conditions are favorable for the short term, the threat of extreme fire behavior returning to the region will remain.
Wildfire Service was able to get off the defensive and get on the offensive, and that's what we need them doing. We need them really attacking this fire to slow it down and direct it and do what they can to extinguish it.
About 4,700 people from Fort Nelson and a nearby First Nation have been forced to leave. Many went south to Fort St. John. And like everyone in the region, they're watching the skies and hoping. The CBC's Michelle Gassoub reports.
For days, fire officials have been saying if they can make it to today, Wednesday, when rain is in the forecast, that could make a significant difference in their fight against the Parker Lake fire threatening Fort Nelson. Today, we woke up to blue skies and warmer temperatures than we saw yesterday, though there still is some rain in the forecast for later this afternoon. The good news is that conditions yesterday helped firefighters. It pushed the fire south and away from town after days of aggressive growth towards people's homes.
The weather's going to be very supportive of our plan, and with that, we're going to try to move ahead and get ready for the next weather event. So with that, we're going to be working in 3 areas to continue on with triage, documentation, and coming up with our structure protection defense plan of how we're going to best protect those communities.
But the Parker Lake fire isn't the only blaze Fort Nelson is contending with. There's also a fire burning north of town. That reignited earlier this year after going dormant in late 2023, and it grew aggressively yesterday. It's about 25 kilometers from Fort Nelson and around 465 square kilometers. Officials say that fire isn't currently threatening the community, but a shift in the winds could change that. That has evacuees here in Fort St. John very worried about a second fire reigniting so close to their homes. The situation for evacuees here has also become more challenging. People have been out of their homes for days now, and an evacuation order for the Doig River First Nation around 40 kilometers northeast of here pushed the town's capacity to the limit. Finding a hotel room here has become near impossible. So anyone still seeking shelter at this point will need to keep driving further south. They'll need to head to Chetwynd, Dawson Creek, or Prince George as they wait to hear which direction the wind will carry these fires. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Fort St. John.
For more on this, we've reached Brittany Robertson. She is a counselor at the Doig River First Nation, and she joins us in Fort St. John, where some of her community has been evacuated to. Appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, Brittany. So what are you hearing from your community? How are people doing?
Well, everybody was a little stressed. That was a huge fire, and it was right on the other side of our river. And so it was, all of our elders were very afraid. And then when the evacuation order was put in place, everyone had to leave. And it's just very stressful not knowing what's going to happen to our community and when people can go home, or if their home was going to be there when we returned. And so it's been very stressful, and yeah.
And Brittany, we're looking at some of the pictures that you took. As you say, like that fire looks like it was really close by. Can you just describe it?
Oh yeah, it's just right behind our administrative office and across the river, and it was just driving into the community. Usually it's just, you could see the sky, the blue skies and whatnot. But it was just a huge cloud of smoke, and then leaving the community also, that's all you could see. And it's just terrifying.
Terrifying. And as you mentioned, for the elders too, what was it like to leave, and how smoothly, or how did that go?
Actually, it was pretty smooth. We have a pretty incredible staff, and we have an emergency services team who are all trained in this. We had a similar situation last year where we had to evacuate the community, and so we've learned from that situation, and we were able to be on things and get everybody out like as quickly as possible. But it was very stressful. Like I said, you just never know what you're going to come home to, when you can come home, if the community was going to be destroyed. And so it's just very stressful.
And very stressful. And now you sit and wait. And is there accommodation for everyone? How is that all going?
Well, Fort St. John is the nearest town, and they've taken on all evacuees from Fort Nelson, and so all of the hotels actually in Fort St. John are taken. And so our community members have been directed to a campsite, like a work camp, not far from Fort St. John on the way to Chetwynd on the Braden Road. And so we have some members that are going there, but we also have a lot of members who have stayed with family who live in Fort St. John, which is fortunate.
And you mentioned this isn't the first time your community has been asked to evacuate due to fires. You said a year ago. Is there a sense of resiliency in your community, or how would you describe the feeling?
Oh, yes. Our community is very resilient, and everybody just it's incredible to see everybody come together and jump in where they're needed. And even like our industry partners, they just automatically were on the phone asking what we needed help with. And we just had so much support, and that's what made the evacuation so smooth and not as hectic as last year, say. It was pretty smooth getting everybody out. Everybody knew what they had to do and where they needed to be, and that's just how our community is.
What are you hearing about how that fight against this fire is going right now?
Well, we've gotten more of the wildland firefighters, so we have more of those crew who have joined. And so they're helping. We have tons of choppers that have been around the community for several days. The water bombers have been helping. It's been like a lot of help from those guys, which is incredible. They do such a good job at trying to mitigate these fire and make it like trying to help it stay out of the path of our homes and whatnot. And so, yeah, I think they have, it has grown, but it has shifted away from the community.
It's shifted away from the community, so that is some good news.
Yes.
That is good to hear.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Brittany, appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was Brittany Robertson speaking to us in Fort St. John.